What do you bring to a gig? Or maybe it should be, what should you bring to a gig? Because I've always brought 3 things to any gig that I'm playing. One would be a guitar, maybe a pedal board, and the third thing I bring is a backpack. And in that backpack I will have all the things that I'd need to run a gig, like cables and such, as well as things that I hope I don't need, but if I do need them, it would be very good to have them. So this video was sponsored by D'Addario. They've kindly provided me with 2 of their backline transport packs. They're in 2 different sizes, the main size and the smaller size. And for this video, I'm going to show you what I would bring to a gig, all the things that I bring to a gig, as well as the things that I would bring for content creation, because this is what I would use as a guitar video maker, going to places where I need guitar cables and stuff, as well as more than just camera gear, basically. So that's in this bag, although I could use this for a gig as well, and I still might do. But let's start with what's in the gig bag, and then we'll get to this. So I used to use just like your standard run-of-the-mill backpack for this job, and the problem is that it wasn't particularly organized. I try my best, but a backpack's a backpack, right? It's designed to hold a laptop and a few books. This is different. It's much better organized. Just take a look at this. So that is just the cable storage. So let me show you what I bring here. An IEC cable. Normally I would bring this for the pedal board. I'd keep it with the pedal board in the pedal board bag. This is for something different that you'll see in a minute. I've also got a speaker cable. This is a Monster speaker cable. Speaker cables are very different to guitar cables. Don't interchange the 2. Very much not recommended. Speaker cables for between amps and speaker cabinets, and it's always important to have one just in case, because you really don't want to intermix the 2. Now the next cables I have here are designed in a way I've laid it out in that it steadily gets to more guitar. So we're still not a guitar yet. These are XLR cables. It's always handy to bring them to gigs just in case, because you never know. There'll always be XLR cables used for plenty of different things, vocal mics, amp mics, DIs, you name it. So I think it's really just good just in case to have at least one of these on hand. And now finally in the cable storage section, we've worked our way to the guitars. I carry 4 guitar cables, 2 are redundancy. So 2 at a shorter length, I think this is about 3 meters, 2 of those. For the longer length, it's probably about 5 meters, 5.5 meters. We have 2 of those, and normally I use it like so. A short one and a long one. So actually, how many cables am I bringing? 4 guitar cables, XLR, speaker cable, and IEC, and there's space for more actually, if I wanted to. So that already is, I'd say that's my favorite part of this bag actually. Okay, let's move on to the side pockets here. We have got a lot of room, and I use it to bring a mic stand. This is the cheapest made in China plastic mic stand that I could find. I didn't want anything that was particularly impressive, and granted, I paid a very low price. I had to repair it. I needed to put a ring of hot glue around the edge because it's full of sand and the sand was leaking out. It wasn't made particularly well, but why I like this is just the perfect height. It's a desktop podcast mic stand, and it's just the perfect height, and it's so small to fit in this bag. It's very light. Perfect height to mic up a speaker cabinet. On the front of the bag, we have 2 pockets. I'll open them simultaneously. The first pocket is what I would refer to the oh dear pocket, because it's all the things that I hope I don't need on a gig, but if I need them, it's very good to have them. Okay, so I've got 2 packs of D'Addario strings. I've got the classic XL10 to 46 gauge. I've used these for years, and then I use these for almost every guitar that's tuned D standard. However, if I'm using Gibson scale length, which is a shorter scale length, I will bump it up to 11 to 56 gauge strings, and these are the NYXL strings. So I use these on Gibsons, this on everything else. Now if I am restringing on a gig, I want to do it quickly, so I've got a little string cutter and winder here, easy to use, and it's also a D'Addario one. Then I also have a multi-tool. This is also D'Addario. Could you tell this video is sponsored by D'Addario? But funny enough, all these things I was using prior to D'Addario's sponsorship, so just FYI. And then just for the occasional use, maybe a particular song or whatever. I have a G7 capo. These are actually very cool. They just pressure fit. I actually might do a little video on these in the future. It'll only be a short one, but cool stuff. But this is a slightly bigger pocket, and this is designed for microphones. Now, I don't bring too many microphones to a gig because, again, most gigs have mics, but just in case, I've got two things. I've got this is a Behringer DI box. Again, most venues have DI boxes, but if anything goes wrong, if there's any requirement, maybe I'm using an acoustic guitar, for instance, I've got a DI box here. It's a passive DI. It's cheap and cheerful. If it gets damaged or lost, it's not going to bankrupt me, but it still works. It does the job. I have used it before. And equally, in the sense of let's not bankrupt myself, I've just got a cheap and cheerful Thomann microphone. This is their copy of a SM58, I think. It's a vocal mic. Unfortunately, it does have the switch, so I always have it in the on position because I will absolutely forget it. But this can be used with my little mic stand. I could run this and have a mic'd up cabinet, or I could use it for a vocal mic as well, because that's kind of what it's designed for. Just in case. And it's also cheap and cheerful. I pop it in the pocket, and most of the time I don't ever have to open the pocket, but it's got stuff there in case I need it. That's kind of the core of this bag, for me anyway. And finally, we've got a top pocket. On the top, I will use the things that I will need the most. So I've got ear protection. I've got in-ears. These are the cheapest Shure ones. I don't know what they're called. I also have a little extender, dongle, because I hate Apple, and whatever I might need for a gig with in-ears, they're in there. And secondly is ear protection. These are Alpine Music plugs. They're just earplugs. They work. And then this is kind of a shelf on the bag. Underneath said shelf, it's just held with Velcro. There's a lot more storage inside, and I'm not really using it to its full potential. There is plenty of space in here, but there's dividers. And what I've got here, where the most weight in the bag is, this is a DV Mark Micro 50M. The M stands for metal, but it's a 2-channel solid state amplifier that's got a clean channel and a distortion channel. And this has saved me plenty of times. Places where they say they have an amp but they don't, or they have one amp and it's a 2-amp band. And you might think, you know, it's light, it's small, it's solid state. Is it even loud enough? Well, here's a funny story. I used this. It was when we were playing a gig. There was one amplifier on my side of the stage, but there was just a cabinet on the other side of the stage. So Glenn ended up using this in the band. And midway through the set, Glenn's guitar cuts out, and sound guy hops up on stage. He does something. He hops off stage. And I didn't know what was wrong until after the show. It turns out that this little amplifier was sitting top of an orange 4x12, and it was so loud that it was shaking itself, and the volume knob was turning itself down. It had to be duct taped to the cabinet to continue the show, so it just wouldn't shake. That's how loud this thing is. And it wasn't turned up to 10, I might add. So this has been a very useful thing, and I like to have it just in the bag. That's what the IEC cable is for, and there's enough room for it as well in the bag as well. So I use that more than you'd think. And finally, on the back of the bag, which is quite comfortable, by the way, it's got a lot of padding, because I'm carrying a decent amount of weight here. There is a section in which you have room for a laptop and stuff. I don't have them in at the moment, but I normally put set lists here. So I'll print out the set lists for all the guys, and I'll put them in here for the gigs. So I've got room, and also just spare paper. I don't have any in there at the moment. But yes, that's my gig bag. With all that in there, it's actually really not that heavy, or at least it doesn't feel that heavy. A lot of cushioning on the straps as well as the back. Now onto the smaller bag. This is, again, it's very similar in design. You're missing out on the front pockets, my oh dear section, but I could fit most of the things in this, but I'm using it at the moment for my camera gear, bringing it to events and stuff. So let me show you. On the top we have this pocket here, and I've kind of segregated it into 3 different sections. We have got in the middle the camera gear. Now the camera gear is it's a bit lax at the moment because there's one there and there's one there. These are both DJI Pocket 2s, and then I also have a GoPro Hero 11 Black. I like small cameras. I like the ability to travel with them, to put them in positions where you couldn't get a big DSLR, as well as like waterproofing on GoPros and stuff. I also have a little tripod, only a small one for handheld stuff. Very easy to use. And that's kind of my camera gear. So the use case for these cameras is as follows. The GoPro I use mainly for trade shows and tours and stuff where someone else would be holding the camera. They don't have to have experience with the camera. They can be as shaky as they want. There's internal stabilization. It's really good. It's not the most reliable camera though. Sometimes it does have its moments of freaking out or dying from overheating. It's not the most reliable, but it's done its job so far. I can't complain. And then these two cameras here, these are both DJI Pocket 2s. They're very versatile, and if you were looking for a camera to begin with, I would recommend it. Personally, I think they're very good. In fact, the new version, the DJI Pocket 3, is better. But these are Pocket 2s. They're fine. I've recorded I don't know how many videos with them. Perfectly fine. And then for all the talking head stuff, you know, the ones with guitars in the background, that's a Sony ZV-E 10 standard kit lens and everything, and I'm running that through OBS. I mainly keep that in the set position that it's in, although I just recently picked up a gimbal, so we might see it out further. But that's my camera gear. Now for audio, I've got two things on me. I have got the Shure Move Mic 2. These are, we attach it to a camera, and you've got two lavalier mics. The little lav mics are good for when you've got like two people talking. However, not necessarily for things like trade shows. When there's noise, lav mics are great, but one thing I found is even better, and that's this. This is the Zoom, what's it called? Zoom H5. You've probably seen me if you watched any of the NAMM stuff where it's so loud. I put this on this little foam covering and it's so directional. I just have to remember to get my voice to the person who's talking, but really, really fantastic microphone. And this was bought. This is not a sponsored thing at all. Highly recommend that for any loud environments. Really, really good. And then finally up top, the third pouch I've got is the guitar section, I would call it. So I've got my 2 packs of strings, of course. I've got my NYXLs, the 11s for the Gibson scales, 10s for everything else. And then I've got this. This is the More Prime P2. Again, this is the content creation thing. I can just connect this up to this recorder and I can plug into this and have amp models, cab models, everything, a decent sound out of this. The little touchscreen, it's got an app that's on my phone, and like that's an amp modeler. It's the same size as a phone. It really is very good. So that's my guitar section of this top amp. If that guy could stop pretending to be a rooster, that's a chicken. This bag isn't being used to its full potential because I've only got a couple of cables in here. Because again, this is my just in here for content creation bag, although very easily could use this as a smaller version of this for gigs, and probably will actually. XLR cable. This is a D'Addario XLR cable, and I'm using that for when I need to run things into the Zoom, because that's got XLR inputs. And then I've also got a guitar cable as well, just for the Prime P2, plugging into that, or if I'm at a trade show, plugging into an amp or anything like that. I've got the cable, so everything's sorted. That's really it for this bag. I don't have a lot. Again, it would help, like 2 cameras on 2 tripods. You're seeing only a bit in this bag. But hey, this is what I bring to a gig or for content creation purposes. And if you think that I'm missing anything big, please let me know, because I really want these to be like the ultimate packs to take to gigs and have things that I need in an emergency as well. I know I didn't have guitar picks in this case. I'll probably add a few, but most of the time I have them in my guitar case, and I'll always have that with me. Although it would make sense to have them in the content creation bag, because sometimes I don't have a guitar with me then. But anything else that you think I might be missing, please let me know. Again, I want to extend a huge thank you to D'Addario for sending out these bags. I've been using D'Addario strings since my first guitar. My first ever restring ever was with D'Addario strings. So it's really cool that they're sponsoring this video. Thank you to them. There's a link in the description to find out more about these bags. And if you like the video, like it. If you want to subscribe, consider doing so. It's free. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.